Hello, my friends. Welcome to DSA Thoughts. Now, these DSA Thoughts, I've decided to, just express my thoughts and do a series of my talk and my thoughts on Africa. And yes, the last one we did last week, it was, on the things that we need to deal with, the things that we must remove for Africa to experience development and civilization. So today, I'm going to continue my thoughts on Africa. And the topic I'm going to be talking about today is my thoughts on Africa's Renaissance. I'm going to be talking about Africa's Renaissance, my thoughts on Africa's Renaissance. Now, what can we do to bring about the Renaissance for Africa? What can we do to bring about Africa's Renaissance? Well, I started it from my last broadcast on my thoughts, DSA's thoughts. And in that broadcast, I mentioned the 4 things that must be eradicated and uprooted from our culture and from our continent before our continent could experience development and civilization. What are these 4 things? Let me just remind you. The 4 things that we must ruthlessly deal with. And the way to do it is not the way that our leaders are doing it right now. There is no civilization and no progress that will come to the African continent without being ruthless. We have to be ruthless and brutal about these things. So the efforts, my thoughts today are going to be about the method of bringing this to pass. The methods that we are going to use to bring about the renaissance of the continent of Africa and to make Africa taste and in the development and civilization in 1 generation is only by being ruthless. And those are the methods that I'm going to be addressing today. I'm going to focus today more on, how to bring it about. Now, like I said, last week, I spoke about what we're supposed to do, which I'm going to repeat to you. But what I'm going to talk about today is going to deal more with how we are going to do it, how we are going to accomplish this target. So the thing that we are supposed to do in Africa to bring about and to make Africa experience Renaissance and civilization is, number 1, there are 4 things that we must uproot, and then there are other things that we must plant and establish on for the continent to move forward. The 4 things that must be uprooted are: 1, we must uproot superstition from the psyche of our people. The way it is being done right now, I've heard when I was growing up in Africa, people have talked about the fact that, education will bring about difference. But education will only bring about information, will only bring about, some just ability to read and write and then get a job or give people profession. But the kind of what we are talking about right now is not just education. So that is the method that Africa has employed to kind of change the continent and bring about development. But I tell you what, that passive approach will never bring about civilization. Look at all the developing countries. Those countries that are not ruthless, that are just, following the flow and thinking that, okay, if more people will go to school. Those are prescriptions from United Nations, prescriptions from UNESCO, prescriptions from this world organization that don't really, IMF, or what organization that don't really care for your destiny. But if we want to make Africa achieve civilization in our generation, in 1 generation, if we want to bring about this civilization in the period of 20, 30 years, like China did, we must be ruthless. There is just no other way to bring about drastic growth, drastic civilization, and drastic progress without being ruthless about it. Just let's face it. So when I talk about the uprooting of superstitions, that must be done in a very dramatic, very drastic manner. Now, I'm not recommending that we go and do revolution, the kind of revolution that China did. They did the Cultural Revolution, and that Cultural Revolution, and they were so ruthless that they were killing people and all that. But that's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is more of an aggressive campaign, and it has to be a concerted effort. It has to be an effort of all the informed population. It has to be a determined effort. It's not going to be the lackluster, kind of effort where everybody just everybody just, laughing about and using 1 hour, 2 hours to introduce each other and, talking about titles and something. It has to be something that is so firm. It has to be an effort that is so concerted, so organized, so comprehensive, so, driven by determination, and that is so aggressively driven, more like what we had experienced during the first presidency of Buhari, when they were talking about war against indiscipline. It has to be a kind of war. Without having that attitude of mobilization and war, we can never overtake. We can never conquer superstitions. Superstitions are deeply rooted in the minds of the people. Superstitions are deeply rooted in the consciousness of people. In fact, they are absolutely rooted in the subconsciousness of our people. And even after people have finished school and university education, they still remain illiterate because of superstitions that they have been so much been part of their lives. So for us to, and I will tell you the strategy and the methods that I see. Now, when I'm talking about being ruthless and being aggressive, I'm not talking about, being as aggressive, killing people like Pol Pot did with Cambodia. We are not talking about those kind of cultural revolution like Pol Pot did in Cambodia, or like China did during the time of the cultural revolution. No, we are talking about like I said, we are talking about something like war against indiscipline, when it is a mobilized, concerted effort. Those are the things that we'll be able to make sure that our message gets to the grassroots. It must be a very informed, a very like I said, concerted effort whereby everybody is informed and aware of what we're planning to attain and to do. So the first thing that must be uprooted from the consciousness of our people is superstition. After we, but these things have to be done parallel. After superstition, the next thing that must be dealt with in the consciousness of all African countries, and I'm looking at Nigeria to start with, but this is not just a Nigerian thing. This must be done in all countries of Africa. If Africa is supposed to experience a renaissance or a civilization that will bring about total progress and development, we must also start a very aggressive campaign against all sorts of intolerance. The way our people are so religious and intolerant to each other. Thankfully enough, we have a good example of tolerance. I was so surprised when I was listening to some experts on ethnic violence and religious violence. The most tolerant group of people in the world in religious violence and ethnic violence and religious violence is actually the southwest of Nigeria. This is the most tolerant group of people in the world. So if in Nigeria, that's the Yoruba people, Lagos, Yoruba area, they are regarded as the most tolerant group of people in the world in terms of cohabiting between two religious groups. So if that could be achieved in part of Nigeria, it means it could be achieved in all of Nigeria. And if that could be achieved in that southwest of Nigeria, it could be achieved in all of Africa. So, it means I'm talking about intolerance, religious intolerance. But the same thing could be done with ethnic intolerance. Lagos is a melting pot as well. I think Abuja is a good example also of a good melting pot where nobody is killing anybody, nobody is chasing anybody from their community. People are living in harmony. So that kind of harmonious cohabitation, and it need to be consciously achieved. The way they are being done right now, I can't see any aggressive campaign. I can't see any educational efforts. I can't see any city hall meetings. I can't see any cultural debates where people are being encouraged to celebrate each other. I can't see any concerted, informed effort that is bringing about, tolerance. We are just hoping, that, just people watching NTA, the country will be tolerant to each other. People groups will be tolerant to each other. It doesn't happen that way. People who ever achieve any progress or people who ever achieve any result in any area, they've got to be aggressive about it. for Bill Gates to become who he is and to be able to spread his product to the rest of the world, he was brutally aggressive. The same thing with Steve Jobs. The same thing. For you to make progress in any endeavor whatsoever, it must be driven. So these things are not being driven in our continent. And in the only country in Africa that has done this successfully is Rwanda. Rwanda has been able, I don't think they have dealt with superstition, but they've been able to deal with intolerance very professionally, just like I'm saying right now, because they have a visionary leader, a leader that is so determined. Yes, the world are going to call him dictator. They are going to say he's a dictator, he's not democratic, he's staying there for too long. But with the situation we have in Africa, we need those kind of focused, determined, leaders. Even if you want, call them dictators. But if he's a good one, if he's visionary and focused and getting the long-lasting results, I think we need to give those kind of people a chance. Now, I know that some people are going to attack me for what I'm saying, that I'm, rooting for dictatorship, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about the ability to mobilize a nation around certain goals. So I'm talking about the ability to mobilize us as a nation around certain concrete goals. I'm not talking about economic council. Okay, Nigeria had 2020, the goal 2020, right? That will become one of the 20 countries, leading countries in the world. And the only people who know about us are the government ministers. Everybody knows about it. We've been talking about it. But you think the country is working concertedly towards that? Every man in the street, maybe they have heard, maybe they've never heard, but they don't even know what they should do to bring that vision to pass. So we don't know that one of the greatest things in the world, and when it comes to civilization, is order. God is a God of order. Now, what does order mean? Order is one of the greatest resources that God has given to humanity. And order means the ability to organize, the ability to bring all resources together, to work together for one goal and for one purpose. That is what we don't do. We are not making use of our resources, the resources of our people. We are not uniting their mind and turn it into a force, into like a superb force that will be able to move with a lot of energy and bring the intended result out. We have not learned to work that way. When we talk about developed countries, when we talk about European countries, America or Japan or Korea, all those countries that have experienced development in one generation, the only way they've been able to do it is that they've been able to gather and galvanize the resources of the majority of people and be able to move them in one direction. So for Africa to move forward, even let's take a nation like Nigeria, we're all scattered. Everybody is doing their own thing. We must agree about the values that we want to promote, that we want to establish. And we must also, first of all, establish what are the things that are hindering our progress. But if everybody is going to be speaking their own language, if we are not working, like I said, aggressively as a nation, as one people, to identify that this evil must be uprooted from our society, from amidst of us, then we are not going anywhere. And those things are superstition, intolerance, miracle-seeking subserviency. And that miracle-seeking subserviency is the easiest thing we could do. We need to just get into the mind of this, get all the religious leaders into one place and tell them that, hey, you know what? No more miracles on TV. Obasanjo tried to do this. And then, it was stopped and it went out of office. There is no continuity. We don't even know the benefit of that kind of policy. We need to talk to our religious leaders and say, do we want to keep on wallowing in poverty, underdevelopment, shame and disgrace, and keep on being an open wound to the world as a continent, or we want our people to progress? And then we need to drive it into them that all the priests and pastors and clerics and religious and Muslims and all clerics must work on teaching values, on educating people about principles of life, rather than overemphasizing miracles. That is another thing. So those are the three first things that we must constantly, aggressively pursue. superstition, the eradication of superstition, intolerance, miracle-seeking mentality, and subserviency. Subserviency, the way to do it is to get in touch with all the kings and let people know that, okay, if they want to bow before kings, let them bow down before kings. But what this is, with school students, secondary school students saying, I'm the president of the fellowship, I'm the pastor of the group, and university students, people having their own fellow university students carrying their bags, introducing president for 2 hours, introducing every who and who that comes to the hall, spending 2 hours on that. That is a culture that is hampering development. These are things that are standing on the way of development, and they must be uprooted. So we must all agree on the things that are standing on the way of development and say, okay, we are going to fight against these things. So of course, there will be people who don't agree, and there will be people who will say, okay, they don't believe in it. But if we could have a small group of people that are focused, that are determined, and that agree, if we could get a large, good group of people to agree on these things, even if we are just 20 people, and start a movement as one voice, we can change a nation. Because it is only a small group of people that changes a nation. It is only a small, informed group of people that are determined, that know what they want to do, that changes that can change a nation. Then the next thing we could do is, because I've seen this is what has happened in Europe. I've lived in Europe for 30 years. And my experience in Europe and from studying their history is that Europe used to be as bad as Africa, even worse than Africa. So Europeans shouldn't come and be telling us some stories and laughing at us that we are backward and we are that continent. They used to be worse than us. They used to be worse in superstition. They used to be worse in intolerance. They used to be worse in miracle-seeking mentality. They used to be worse in subserviency. But you know what? If they were able to overcome it, if they were able to uproot that from their psyche and from their continent and bring about development just because of Renaissance, we can bring about our own Renaissance faster than they did. Because in Europe, it took 500 years to bring about this change that we are seeing right now. But we can do it faster because if anybody ever did anything, we could learn from their mistakes, we could learn from the principles that they have used and attain the same result in a faster period of time. That is what Japan did. That's what Korea did. That is what China did. That is what all these newly coming up nations have done by learning from the experience. That's what America did. That's what Australia did. That's what New Zealand did. That's what all these Canada did. That's what all these new nations have done by just learning from the experience of Europe. So what are the things that must be done again? Apart from being uncompromising, ruthless, brutal, fierce, and ferocious. All these things are important. We must be ferocious in this fight and in this campaign. We must be fierce, we must be brutal, we must be uncompromising, and we must be ruthless if need be. So what are the means and methods to use? We need to get this mindset into all the mass media, all our newspapers, all our television, radio. We need to organize them. Not just everybody doing whatever they want. All the activities of mass media must be in the direction of attaining a certain goal, which is playing down on superstition and playing down on intolerance, playing down on miracle-seeking mentality, playing down on subserviency. Instead of that, what are we establishing? We are establishing the principle of cause and effect. We are telling people work hard. We are telling people diligence is what we need. We are telling people the dignity of labor is what we need. We are telling people instead of seeking miracles, instead of looking for some superstitious beliefs, let's just believe that life is based on laws and principles. And we need to tell them that what you sow is what you reap. It is the principles that we operate that is going to give us the result. We need to talk to them about diligence. We need to talk to them about the process, the importance of production of goods and services. We need to talk to them about excellence. We need to talk to them about quality resources. Resources management. Organization, management culture, all kind of values. It's value system. We need to give these media houses concrete instructions that every movie they do, every film they do, they are promoting value systems. And they are eradicating things that are impeding development. So we need to get all religious organizations involved. We need to get our movie houses involved. Not just some movie houses doing witchcraft there, they must be value driven. We are making them to do entertaining movies, great movies, but that are around some value system, just like American movie industry did in the 60s and in the 50s. They were all about American dream, American dream, American dream. The victory of good over evil. All the films were about that. They were interesting, but they had a goal and a message. We need to get our movie industries to begin to pass the message of value systems, cause and effect, and eradication of all these vices that I just spoke about. All our books must have a message. All our schools must be built around value system, eradication of the vices, and establishing of the values. All the coffee houses must be operational around these same values. The town hall meetings must be organized to bring about tolerance, to eradicate hatred, to eradicate intolerance, religious intolerance, tribal intolerance, ethnic intolerance, and to uproot all kind of superstitious beliefs, to raise the value of people, that you don't need to be subservient to other people. Put value in people. Let them know that they are created in God's image. And once you are created in God's image, you are as important as every other person. Let's raise the value of every citizen of our country. These are the things that the viewing centers, the cultural centers, the on-ground crusaders, the food soldiers, the town halls, the coffee halls, the schools, the universities. These are the values that are supposed to be the underlying values that they know that they are, directly or indirectly promoting. So this is how to bring about African Renaissance, and this is DSA Thoughts. But I'm going to keep on coming back every week with DSA Thoughts on Africa, and I've decided that for the next 1 year, all my thoughts, all DSA thoughts are going to be about how to bring about a new Africa. Peace. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Now, we need to spread this word, and we need to do it together. For that to happen, we need your help. Just 5 little steps that you could help us to spread the word. Number 1 thing we need you to do is to like the videos. Please go like this video right now. Number 2, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Number 3, we need you to press and click on that notification bell. You see the bell? Go press on it. And number 4, we need you to go comment. Write your comment, good or bad. Just write what you feel. Number 5, share on every platform. Share on Instagram, share on Facebook. Just share and spread the word. Thank you so much.